So Nick, you wrote your second book and released it, The Situation in the Basement. How was that?
You said it wrong.
What did I say? Situation. What is it called?
The Secret
Oh,
in the
okay.
Basement.
All right.
It'd be good if I had the prop with me, but I don't.
Recently you wrote and released your second book, The Secret in the Basement. How was that experience for you? Did it meet your expectations, or how was that whole thing?
Well, in some ways it was much better than my first book, but in other ways it was more disappointing than my first book. It's kind of a mixed bag, I'd have to say. At first, the good news. The story came out much, much better than my first book. I like the story so much better, because basically it's alternating between the real world and the RPG world, where you're doing all the grinding and fighting monsters and getting the big numbers out of them and whatnot. And, of course, leveling up much in the exact same systems as my very first book, except you start off on like a more normal level, as if you just started up the video game as if it was a video game, and hit new game. You're all weak, you got the most basic of equipment, etc. But you work your way up, endlessly defeating monsters, leveling up, and all that other fancy stuff, typical of role-playing games. So all the details, everything, that all came out so well. I loved how well that story came out. Man, that was just something. And the book cover, oh man, I love how well that came out. It's so atmospheric, it's so scenic, it's so to the point. It grabs your attention. I could see it as potentially being almost a bestseller or close to it. But now for the bad news. You ready for that? Because Google basically destroyed my YouTube because of their 15-minute limit coming back and taking away so much, I ended up losing my popularity, so I couldn't sell it anywhere near as good. And despite that, it's selling pretty good still, but nowhere near as good as my first book got.